Greetings from the Crypto Swiss channel. This is James. Does XRP decouple? It's worth talking about, though, considering what's been going on in the cryptocurrency markets lately, particularly how XRP has been outperforming Bitcoin lately. Please take a moment to review this headline. As XRP rises 6% to $2.10 and Nvidia falls 8%, XRP and Nvidia separate. This is a Cointelegraph headline. Tired of fake gurus who claim to be expert traders but never trade live? I trade live on the second largest crypto exchange, where everything is transparent and results can't be faked. For over 440 days, I've consistently closed every month in profit. In the last 90 days alone, my followers have earned over $34,000 in profits with only 4% drawdown. Verified results, not empty claims. Want to see my verified stats? Click the first link in my profile and start copying my trades for free today. Amid the Trump trade battle and the Fed's warning of greater inflation, Bitcoin decouples stocks and equities drop $3.5 trillion. I will now state unequivocally that what we have witnessed is unprecedented. As far as I am aware, no comparable time in the history of the crypto asset class has ever occurred. Now, feel free to leave a remark below if you know of one that I'm not aware of. Perhaps I'm simply not thinking about it. But as far as I know, this has never happened before. Additionally, there was this headline: 10,000 XRP price forecasts are dismissed as unreasonable by the former CEO of the Australian Stock Exchange, and I just must say that you will adore it. With the exception of those Looney Tunes who believe that XRP will ever reach 5 digits, that is absolutely utterly silly and ludicrous. I hope that's all of you listening, but I've talked about that a lot for those of you who want to live in reality, like myself. This is pleasant. It's good to see someone with a reputation and a background that would make you think he knows enough about these kinds of things to just counter the bullshit. I believe we need more of that. Before continuing though, I would like to clarify that I have no prior experience in finance. I'm not giving financial advice, and anything I say should not lead you to buy or sell anything. Am I right? I'm merely a hobbyist who likes to create YouTube videos about cryptocurrency related subjects for enjoyment. Okay, since before I got involved in cryptocurrency, the concept of XRP detaching from Bitcoin has been widely discussed for years and years. Additionally, I arrived here in late 2017. One of the more recent headlines is shown here. This dates back to January 2nd, 2025. Officially, XRP separates from Bitcoin. The top trader responds, "All right, decouples formally. Indeed, it has decoupled innumerable times during its history if you want to call each day when one is a little higher and one is a little lower. That's stupid, yet it's just like that. In essence, we want to know if the market is treating it differently from Bitcoin and if it will continue to do so. Will it simply flow more and more consistently on its own, independent of what the market as a whole does? Furthermore, there is no proof that this is the case. No proof exists. Anytime XRP has experienced a truly noteworthy run, something that goes beyond a fleeting fad, it came during a period when the whole crypto asset class was experiencing success. Yes, it doubled in roughly 4 hours, even if you're talking about over 2 years ago, when XRP gained legal certainty. Later on, though, it did eventually approach its pre-move location. One may even argue that it might have been a little higher than it otherwise would have been. Actually, that's fair. However, there has never been any indication that it will embark on a noteworthy run that could lead to something like permanence without the market. I therefore need more than one incident to change my view about that. People are prepared to leap. People will always yell this whenever there is even one instance of XRP acting differently than Bitcoin. Don't you want more than one data point? I ask. For example, before drawing that judgment, wouldn't you prefer a trend rather than a single data point? See, I'd be delighted if it were to occur. That would not bother me in the least. The same is true for the whole class of crypto assets. If the cryptocurrency asset class is handled in a manner that, promotes that false narrative, you are aware of this because, as they say, Bitcoin is, gold 2.0. The whole thing is the problem. Consequently, it is traded and treated differently from equities, Additionally, they are fabricating a story to make it seem like gold is a hedge against turbulent times. Actually, data indicates that's not the case. According to data, Bitcoin and the entire cryptocurrency market drop when stocks do. Furthermore, these poisonous Bitcoin maximalists are shameless, which makes them blatantly dishonest. It's intriguing though, since yesterday was the first time we've seen a giant decline that, at any other time in history, would have led to the collapse of XRP and the entire crypto asset class. Therefore, It's worthwhile to have a conversation about this. Even now, a single data point does not constitute a trend. Therefore, I continue to hold that. In the event that there is a decoupling, I will require many more examples across a longer time frame. Super fantastic if this is the beginning of that. At this time, there is no proof that this is the case. Evidence of a data point is present. That's what we currently have. Still, have a look at this. Once more, this headline, XRP separates from Nvidia as Nvidia falls 8% and XRP rises 6% to $2.10. And this is a fascinating observation. One of the top cryptocurrency assets, XRP, saw a significant increase today, while Nvidia, a leader in chip and AI technologies, is suffering a 7.82% decline. Discussions on whether cryptocurrency assets and conventional stocks are decoupling have been triggered by the divergent actions. In a tweet, Dom Kwok, a former banking analyst at Goldman Sachs, emphasized this pattern. Nvidia and XRP are two of the largest bellwethers in their respective marketplaces, he said. His conclusion implies that after the most recent carnage, cryptocurrency assets like XRP showed resilience and upward momentum, while the larger stock market, especially tech-related equities, saw downward pressure. Additionally, the post on the screen right there indicates that Nvidia is down and XRP is up. And this is strange. It would have been what, I suppose, a few days ago? Technically, the tariff news broke on Tuesday, but I think it happened after the stock market closed on Wednesday. Therefore, Wednesday would have been the first full day of turmoil. Additionally, though not significantly, cryptocurrency markets, including XRP, were down. That is what drew my attention. This isn't much of a bleep, I thought. After a brief decline to $1.95, XRP rose above $2. When we received additional news the following day, the world was frightened due to China's planned implementation of retaliatory tariffs. I think the tariff was 34%, and it will go into force on April 10th, barring any behind-the-scenes negotiations, which I feel have a good possibility of occurring. As a result, the stock market was significantly down, but XRP was up. XRP was up almost 7% that morning when I looked, as I indicated in a video the other day. Or, I suppose, yesterday night, it was around $2.10, and the market as a whole is suffering greatly. I misspoke when I said the rest of the market. Crypto was all right. I was referring to the stock market, which was the other market that was down, that was seriously bleeding out. We can examine the Russell 2000, Dow Jones Industrial, NASDAQ 100, and S&P 500. This is also fascinating. I was likewise taken aback by this. Gold had fallen. Normally they run to gold, but now they're running to cryptocurrency. To the best of my knowledge, this has never occurred. There have been days when the stock market has dropped and cryptocurrency has slightly increased, but when you're discussing a catastrophic event, that's how investors view it. In other words, there has never been a period when cryptocurrency has fallen and the stock market has fallen. But that is precisely the case here. The greatest idea I've seen put out is that the weak hands are already out of crypto because there has been so much bleeding out over the past few months. It's believable. I'm not suggesting that I think that explains this in its entirety. There must be more involved. There must be more to it than that, in my opinion. I simply don't know what it is. The fact that most cryptocurrency investors are also stock market investors is one of the reasons I think that. Therefore, both are typically involved if they are going to extract anything. Therefore, it still doesn't explain why people now treat the cryptocurrency asset class differently than they do the stock market. Therefore, they have already been flushed out if it is truly as easy as the weak hands. Simply put, if enough time goes by and we have additional data points and examples, and this is the outlier, I'd say, okay, maybe that was it. On the other hand, I would think, oh, perhaps people have really reached the point where they're treating it differently. If there were more data points, more world events, and cryptocurrency still behaved differently. However, since this is only one piece of evidence, I must admit that I'm not yet certain we're there. Therefore, before I can credibly believe something like that, I need to see a trend. It is conceivable that it will eventually develop into something similar. In my ideal world, cryptocurrency as an asset class, including XRP, would not always be regarded as an asset with the same level of risk. Like gold, it may be viewed more as a hedge against turbulent times. Again though, there are other strange things going on here. The fact that even gold isn't acting normally is one of the reasons I'm not convinced of this decoupling, quote unquote. The price of gold has dropped. What? If nothing else, this should help gold during these turbulent times, right? This time though, it's not. It's different now. Perhaps this is due to the fact that it is a straightforward element that just rebalances everything. We're talking about international trade after all. Everything has an effect on everything else. At this point, the world is attempting to resolve the chaos. And perhaps that's why we're witnessing certain absurd events that we wouldn't witness in other situations. That appears more likely to be the case in this instance. So you can share your thoughts with me. Mikey Bull Crypto, a chart analyst, has posted this. He claimed that although the US stock market lost $3.25 trillion today, the cryptocurrency sector gained $5.4 billion. People, decoupling has begun. Alright, I think that's premature. With all due respect, it's too early to say, in my opinion. I observed a lot of posts similar to this one. I simply don't believe it. For the same reason, when XRP runs while Bitcoin does not, I remain unconvinced. That does not, in my opinion, imply a dissociation, and I believe it indicates that the market is in a bull market, after which XRP will suddenly surge. However, if you zoom out on a chart that dates back to the beginning, you will find that XRP's notable runs, the ones that last, are a result of the bull market. Therefore, I also don't believe that. This tweet from chart analyst Jack serves as a reminder that the decline is being driven by the broader risk of a tariff trade war rather than just cryptocurrency. As all of that is going on, it appears that cryptocurrency has probably already experienced the majority of its decline and has been handling all of the selling quite well lately. The path to some significant upside should come once everything has calmed down. With the majority of the negative news behind us, the positive news ahead, and the most intense dread since the bear market bottom has been reached and the majority of selling has left. But as always, look at the validations and probability set and take your chances as near to them as you can. Yes, the last sentence is obviously for traders. It has no bearing on hodlers. Whatever occurs, I just hold and hodl. Please pardon me. As for cryptocurrency holders, it appears that the worst is over. We'll see if there are any repercussions if the market begins to plummet once more. However, I continue to believe that all will be resolved. Then, if I had to guess, I would say that we are most likely witnessing some anomalous data that will not be reproduced in the future. I simply don't believe that people have miraculously changed the way they think about cryptocurrency at this precise moment, and that it is now going to be decoupled. I simply don't see enough proof of that. Perhaps I'm mistaken if that's the case. Alright, however, I don't think so. I simply must see more. Given the nature of trade battles, I think it makes sense that this is such a special time. It is simply interfering with everything. And I believe that gold sort of validates what I'm saying. It supports my claim that this is merely a special circumstance, okay? The former CEO of the Australian stock market then dismisses the 10,000 XRP price forecasts as impractical. By the way, that's a mistake. It's not the CEO of a stock exchange. I discovered him on this page after searching for him on Google. Alex Carrico is the subject of their conversation. He used to be the CEO of a company listed on the ASX. He oversaw the operations of a business that was listed on the exchange. Thus, CryptoBasic made a mistake. However, the fact that we must drive home remains the same. This is what they were referring to then. The following was written by an account on X and was published in a story by All Things XRP. Greetings, XRP influencers. Everyone wants XRP to soar, but it doesn't benefit anyone to say $100 next month or $10,000 overnight. There is no truth to the hoopla, and people in the community are beginning to realize it. People are worn out. They're annoyed. Instead of clickbait, they are searching for leadership. I try my best to offer well-founded, fact-based opinions that support community development. We must hold ourselves to a higher level if we want cryptocurrency to become widely accepted. For the benefit of XRP, the community, and the future, let's improve. Yes. Therefore, some of us have always held ourselves to the ideal of not promoting foolish, absurd concepts like 5-digit XRP. It's a dumb idea. It's a dumb as hell notion. It simply is. It will always remain. Therefore, some less knowledgeable people are good candidates to follow you because they want it to be real, I guess you could say. Why it wouldn't make sense is a mystery to them. When you question it, they become insulted because they have strong feelings about it. That's what occurs. Therefore, there is a segment of the XRP community that is ready to believe that, wants to believe it, will believe it, and will be upset with anyone who denies it. Therefore, some influencers are obviously thieves. Additionally, some influencers are simply too dim-witted to see that this is a horrible idea. To be honest, it's both of them here. Therefore, I don't think that aspect will disappear, but I do believe that it's always worthwhile to resist harmful views. Furthermore, if someone believes that we are mistaken and that our side, the more sensible side, the one that merely wants to live in reality, is incorrect. We will continue to oppose this and your viewpoints. It's okay. To be honest, that's how it ought to be. However, there has always been a sizable portion of the community that is fact-based and only wants to accept what is true. And I've always maintained that having a ludicrous amount of enthusiasm for XRP and its ecosystem is more than justified by reality. This fantasy land nonsense about 10,000 XRP is unnecessary. It's not occurring in this cycle, but triple-digit XRP might appear eventually. For all I know, it might be 10 or 2 years later if it does. I won't even venture to guess that. I'll be honest with you, I have no idea. I'm just admitting that it's feasible. That's the extent of my willingness to go. However, it won't take place tomorrow, and I kind of roll my eyes at those that promote that stuff, and a few of them genuinely think so. What can I say then? I mean, they are free to express their views as long as they are acting honestly. However, I believe that they could find it interesting to examine the justifications that individuals like myself have expressed. For instance, it's clear that there isn't enough money in the world to drive up the price of XRP to tens of thousands of dollars. For some of these forecasts, you would be discussing a market capitalization that is literally greater than the total number of equities in the world. Furthermore, it is clear that the market capitalization does not accurately reflect the amount of money coming in. And because that's what they consistently return with, I can understand that. Yes, man, I was aware of it in 2017. I'm not debating about it. I'm arguing that there isn't enough cash to raise the price to that amount. There simply isn't. It will not take place. And I've argued that point. In this video, I won't go into further detail. It's good to see someone else opposing this though anyway. Thus, Alex Krakow concurred. 100% agree, he added. I was the CEO of a company that was listed on the Australian Stock Exchange. Seeing new XRP purchasers being duped by spending between $1,000 and $10,000 is very disheartening. Additionally, it is parabolic and will occur either tomorrow or the following week. The truth is currently displayed on the screens every day for $2 to $2.50, but with institutional purchasing and market adoption, this will eventually improve. Since the cryptocurrency market is unpredictable rather than a stock market, no one can make reliable predictions. Thankfully, laws allow many people to be punished for lacking resources or support. Thus, the general concept is unquestionably accurate. As a result, you will consistently encounter those who are clearly grown-ups in the room, as evidenced by their histories, mannerisms, and speech patterns. These individuals will contrast from the hype people. It is at all times. It is at all times. Furthermore, many of the hype mongers are also the ones who are guilty of being crazy conspiracy theorists, as if XRP had been covertly distributed to countries all over the world, and we were unaware of it. Additionally, it is covertly allotted to these additional nations. Do you recall the allocation? Or do you recall XRP being covertly backed by gold? Do you recall that one? The price of XRP is covertly much higher, and there is a private ledger. Do you recall that one? Or what if Swift is going to go extinct in, like, August 2018 or whatever the heck it was, and XRP is at the center of the quantum financial system that will replace it? Do you recall that forecast? Do you recall that? Subsequently, some of the most prominent XRP influencers were promoting that nonsense. I recall all of this. The same folks are constantly pushing this garbage, but those individuals need to quit doing those foolish things. The good news is that I believe most people are more sensible and will not fall for this. I mean, no one would even pay attention to me if everyone believed that XRP should reach $10,000. I am therefore more hopeful. It still annoys me, even though I believe that most people understand. The dishonest people and swindlers out there greatly irritate me because they are simply deceiving others, and they are aware of it. Now, that's a little different if it's people who simply lack the intelligence to comprehend something. At least then you're innocent. You're making a dumb statement. In any case, we ought to resist these things. To sum up, I thought this was refreshing because it's not happening. It's obvious. Many people in our community will become extremely wealthy because of XRP, but those numbers aren't occurring, people. Not happening. I do not provide financial advice. It would be a very, very destitute idea for you to buy or sell anything because of anything I say.